Welcome, scholars, right? We are here, finally, right? We're finally kind of like syncing up. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. You were able to, do what you needed to do, spend some time with friends and family, eat some good food, be healthy on some level. But then, to be honest, sometimes it is healthy to be a little bit unhealthy, right? Like you need that just for to feed the soul, right? Because if we're too by the book and too with a stick up, what kind of life is that, right? But I believe in balance, right? A good balance between doing what you need to do, but doing what you want to do, right? So hopefully you got some rest and you got some work done. You did whatever you needed for yourself. So the first thing that I like to kind of discuss, I do acknowledge the technical difficulties, like because I even had some on my end, and mainly because I had some on my end is why I'm kind of like open to what I'm going to say. So what I ended up doing, like a few hours before we met just now, I see that like we're starting on section 3.3, but then some assignments were due right now. So what I ended up doing, because you don't have the pre-recorded videos aren't available yet because we're basically doing it live. I went on to remove the late penalty for chapters 1 through 3. Right. So what that means is if you're just gaining access to the homework and figuring that out, or for whatever reason, all assignments from, and that's including exam one, that's huge, right? There's no late penalty for those first few assignments. And, I'm open to some other things, but for right now, I think that's like a coverall for people that's like gaining access late or this, that, or the other, right? So the due dates are still there, but again, I removed the late penalty for basically all assignments from chapters 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to continue chapter 3 this week. Idealistically, though, we do want to try to finish chapter 3 this week so we can be on schedule. So my plan for that is, and this is on me. I do need to follow through on my pre-recorded lectures. I know I keep shirking them off, and like, oh, we'll just do it live. It'll be okay. But then what happens is it kind of pushes into other sections. So again, my remedy is I removed all the late penalties for all assignments for 1 through 3. It should, those late penalties should be removed. Also, I do plan on updating my grade book between today and Thursday, right? So, I'm just going to take whatever's there. Chapter 3 is due next week, to be honest. And I hate to pull those. I'll try to stick to whatever was originally due today, So if you hadn't done it, you're going to see it that hit. But again, as long as you get the assignment submitted in My Open Math, that's what I'm going to use eventually. Like again, these weekly grades, don't stress about those. The main thing is that you get your assignments with high marks by the end of the semester, because I'm constantly updating the grade, right? So that weekly grade is just a snapshot of that moment. Do not. That's just something that I'm obligated to do, but that has no bearing on anything. That's just, again, it's just a snapshot. So we talked about removing the late penalty. There was one other thing. Oh, so so again, with this chapter 3, we're going to do the best that we can. Again, the goal is to finish chapter 3 by this week. I do not intend to rush during class. Idealistically, if we can get 3 sections done at each meeting, we'll pretty much be caught up. But I'm just going to go at a leisure pace. Again, whatever we don't do together, I'll do my best to try to get those pre-recorded lectures. I see now it's like, hey, you cannot just shirk it off and do it live, because then it bumps into the next week. So we'll do the best that we can with this, and I'll do the best that I can to try to finish out chapter 3 and maybe go ahead and load whatever the next chapter is after chapter 3. Those are just basically recordings that I do, and I make them. And again, because it's my first run through, that's why there's kind of a delay on these. So I think that covers most of the concerns, if not all. If I missed something, or if you still have questions, comments, or concerns about things, feel free to either unmute yourself or type in the chat, and we can talk about it, right? Again, these sessions are recorded. I was successfully able to use our last session on Thursday, 3.1 and 3.2. I loaded that to my YouTube, so those seem like they worked pretty well. So I do intend to do the same thing or something similar with this one. So, okay, so hopefully we're all aboard and we're not all bored. Anybody have an interesting story from the weekend they'd like to share? Going once, going twice? My interesting story is that I went and saw I watched Equalizer 3 on Thursday, and it's just like an action-packed, a guy movie, Denzel Washington being a badass, untouchable kind of thing. And then a friend of mine, she was like, "Well, I want to see something," and she didn't want to see anything else. And she's not really into action, but she went and saw it. We watched it together, and then she was like, "Oh, I actually kind of liked it." I was like, "Have you seen Equalizer 1 and 2?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, if you liked Equalizer 3, pull what off." Now I gotta get in the chat. What's going on there? Let me see. Hey, go. What? Oh no. Yeah, I would totally gas. I think I saw a video where somebody was on a diving board and they sprung and flipped, and the wig got caught on the diving board and they went in without the wig. I was like, what? I hope that wasn't you. Or maybe it was you, and then if you can go viral and get some money. But I mean, that's life. It's life. You know, it was night. Okay. So maybe you could sneak away with it. Okay, that's an interesting story. Okay, so we have a plan of action. You can continue in the chat. It's cool. It's really interesting. Um, so let's focus and try to get through as much of this together as we can. So this is our first official presentation for 3.3. So we're continuing chapter 3 with logic, right? And a brief synopsis on what logic is. It's just like a systematic approach to proving things, right? Like when we start with an equation, we go through some algebra and we finish with an answer. That's one type of logic. Oftentimes, I think I mentioned this before, but oftentimes lawyers use the stuff that we're talking to either prove somebody's innocence or guilt. I've used it a couple of times in court. If you remind me towards the end of the class, I'll tell you the story where I won in court. Going against this officer, challenging his decision, and I won. But again, so we also use this these concepts and topics in coding and programming. So how we're working on our smart devices, our phones, our tablets, our computers, all this software. This is actually the underlying conversation that's going on that's making all these processes work. With this whole ones and zeros, so these truth tables and these truth values, all these things that we're doing with the connectors of and, or, implication, and biconditional, these actually apply to computer code. It's also used in cryptography in the military for them sending secret messages and stuff. We're actually surrounded by this. We just aren't aware of it. So we're actually peering into these unseen processes, and this is the underlying conversation that's going on, right? Okay. So, and again, I am relying, and I do need to update my attendance. It's not you all's fault. I'm just getting used to Teams and this whole thing. I'm more so used to Zoom and that dynamic, but this is okay too. I do have a record of you guys' attendance. So, and again, as long as you're in communication and you're making a genuine effort to submit your assignments, you're gonna be fine. Unlimited attempts. I mean, that no late penalty. I know if I were the student, I would just blow that stuff out of the water. Or at least I feel like I would. I know when my professors did stuff like that, I just ate it up and just kept it moving. I didn't even blink an eye. A lot of my professors, what they would do, because we did in-person testing, so they would give us a study guide. I mean, I would still do the homework, but I would make sure at a minimum to know the stuff on the study guide, and oftentimes the exam was a copy of the study guide with different numbers. And if it wasn't the study guide, it came from the homework, usually from one of those two sources. This is different, obviously, because we're remote, but I mean, it is what it is. So here we're looking at section 3.3, truth tables for negation, conjunction, and disjunction, right? Okay. So some objectives here, we like to use the definition of negation, conjunction, and disjunction. We like to construct truth tables and determine the truth value of a compound statement for a specific case. Okay. So what do we mean by truth tables? So the first truth table that we'll look at is for negation or the not connective. It's the opposite truth value from the statement, right? So if P is our simple statement, and the simple statements have one of two truth values. Either a simple statement is true or a simple statement is false. In coding, either the item is what? It's a 1 or a 0, right? So it's similar there. So then if we say not P, not whatever that simple statement is, then it just reverses it. The true becomes false, the false becomes true. That's all that not does, okay? I feel like that's straightforward and simple. Let's keep going. So then for the conjunction and, right? If you think about the word and, and is true when this is true and that's true, right? So in order for and to be true, they both need to be true, right? So if we consider two simple statements P and Q, and we want to consider all the combinations of trues and false between those two, we're going to get a total of four rows, right? So true, true, false, false for P, and then true, false for Q. So each row, is going to give us all the combination of true and false with those two simple statements. Again, and is true only when they're both the true. It's when P is true and when Q is true, right? So if you look at the truth table, notice that it's only true when they're both true. If they're not both true, then it's false. So as we go through to construct our truth tables, when it's the and, we ask ourselves, are they both true? Yes. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? No. Right? So for and is true when they're both true. Okay? So now, if and is true when they're both true, if you had to use your intuition and just guess, it's 1111 for any angel number people. What do you think is the case for inclusive or, right? The or that the main or that we use is inclusive or. So or is true when either this is true or that is true, or they're both true, right? So for or is going to be true if at least one of them is true. We're saying that either P is true or Q is true, or they're both true, right? So again, this or is the inclusive or. Basically, it's always true except false or false, right? So again, or is true when either one is true or the other is true or they're both true, right? This is the inclusive or. Is at least one true? Yes. Is at least one true? Yes. Is at least one true? Yes. Is at least one true? No. Right? Okay, so hopefully this is making sense. Okay. So far we've talked about three connectives. We talked about not basically flips the truth value. So if it's true, it becomes false. If it's false, it becomes true. And is true when they're both are true. Basically, and is P has to be true and Q has to be true in order for and to be true. And then or is true when at least one of them is true. So at least P is true or Q is true or they're both true. Now, if we see exclusive or is like the circle with the plus in the middle, or the crosshairs or whatever. That one is at least one, only one is true, right? So either P is true or Q is true, but not both, right? But we'll talk about that a little bit later on when it comes up. Okay. So here's an example of the simple statement. So let P and Q represent the following statements. P is going to be the simple statement 10 is strictly greater than 4. Q is going to be the simple statement 3 is strictly less than 5. Determine the truth value for each statement, right? So before we kind of dive into, I'll just do this one for the sake of time, just because we're kind of short on time. Let's go ahead and determine the truth value for P and Q, right? So, what's the truth value of P? Is that true or is that false? Is it true that 10 is greater than 4? Yeah. So we're going to assign that a truth value of T. For Q, is it true that 3 is strictly less than 5? Yeah, that's true. So we're going to assign that a truth value of T as well. And actually, I'm just going to be a little bit OCD, copy and paste, just because I can. All right? Okay. So in this case, both P and Q are true. So now what we're going to do is take those truth values and just plug them into this compound statement, right, with the connective. So we have P and Q, but P is true, right? And Q is true. So when is and true? And is true when they both are true. Are they both true? Yes. So this final truth statement is going to be true for that one. I'm just going to highlight it like this. Okay. If we do something similar for B, we substitute in our truth values, right? So for B, we're going to say not true and true, right? So now if we had to decide between the not and the and, I think the and is the most dominant symbol here. I think we mentioned that last time. So we do the not first. So then not true becomes what? False. So then we have false and true, but and is true when they're both true. So this ultimately is a false compound statement. All right. So the final truth value for A is true. The final truth value for B is false. Let me see. Since both right, so I think we're good there. Okay, I'm already don't want to talk anymore. My mouth is so dry. I need to get something to drink, but I'm gonna power through. So I actually have one of my favorite snacks on deck. One of my favorite snacks because one of my favorite snacks is like frozen fruit, like frozen bananas. I'll either throw them in smoothies or eat them direct, and it's so trippy because like last time I ate frozen bananas, it was like ice cream. I was like, this texture is kind of like ice cream, and you don't feel so guilty because it's just banana. Or I got like frozen grapes; those actually work really well too. If you want to take frozen grapes to the next level, before you freeze them, you slice them in half and you sprinkle lemon juice on them or lime juice, and then you freeze it. It's like Skittles or sour something, but it's really, really good. So those are some of my favorite snacks. I'm about to go grab some in a moment. Okay, let's look at this. What's going on here? I feel like that's a typo. So let me just get rid of that. So I'm gonna copy and paste. Yeah, I think that's just a typo. Okay. So we let P and Q represent the following statements. So P, let's go ahead and assign our truth values. It is true that 10 is strictly greater than 4, so we're going to assign that one to be true. And again, I'm just going to be a little bit OCD for no reason. You know what? It's not that serious. I was going to copy, but I was like, forget it. I think Q is true as well. 3 is strictly less than 5. So we're actually determine the truth value for each statement. Okay. So let's just substitute in our truth values. P is true or not. Q is true, right? The opposite of true is going to be a false. So or is true when at least one is true. Is at least one true? We're going to say yes. So the final truth value here is true. Okay. Another interesting thing that I did over the weekend, I binge watched on Netflix the live action One Piece. I could not get into One Piece. I am an anime fan. My students in the past raved about One Piece. I tried watching the animated version. I after a couple of episodes, I was like, I can't watch this. It was just too like slow and weird. But I acknowledge it's a good story. I did watch the live action, and it was okay. I mean, I think they did a good job. I think it's just the story of One Piece. I'm a Dragon Ball Z person. That's what I grew up on. Let's work on D over here to the side. So we were given what? Not P or not Q, right? Okay, let's substitute in our truth values. So let's do like this. We're gonna substitute in the fight scenes of One Piece are the highlight. Yeah, you kind of like always waiting for him to like do a stretchy shot, and those that was decent. Like, and I resonated with his philosophy of freedom. Like I resonate with that, 100%. Like I believe in that. One Piece is dog. I'm not going to challenge that. I'm not going to challenge that notion because I can see the argument there. Let's substitute. Oh, way too many episodes for real. Yeah, that's the animated. Now you can say the same thing for Naruto, but like and Dragon Ball Z, but those are the ones that first was Dragon Ball Z. I remember being in, I think it was at middle school, and like I was at home after school, sitting at the counter eating some cereal. Then afternoon snack. I'm all about. I'm a foodie, and like I remember the scene when Frieza grabs Krillin telekinetically, and like Krillin explodes, and like I lose my mind, and like you see the flash of golden hair in like Goku's body. I'm like, oh my god, he's actually going. Because it was so much hype, for like months and years on end. I never thought I was going to see it. 300 episodes of nothing, facts. But if you can get through it, like the story of Naruto is decent. Like from Naruto, I like Shippuden. Boruto I hadn't finished. Attack on Titans is good. I haven't finished that one either. My Hero Academia. I mean, the chat is ablaze. I'm gonna let it chill for now. Again, that's my favorite thing to do with golf and tangents. But let's focus, right? So we submitted these truth values, right? So then I guess both of these become the opposite, right? So the opposite of truth is false or false. And then the or is true when at least one of them is true. Is at least one of them true? We would say no. So that final truth value would be false. Right? That final truth value would be false. Right? All right. So that looks good. So for C we got true, and for D we got false. Let's see. It's true. Oh, that's supposed to be a slash through that. Maybe that's what was missing. Let me look back at the previous one. Yeah, I think we're okay. Is that one missing something? That is true or that is false. Um, I don't know if there's a typo there or not. There might be a typo. Like the typo that I'm sensing, this possibly is supposed to be a slash right there. Since Q is true, okay, now I don't know. The first one looks weird because since Q is true, not Q is false, right? So the disjunction is false. Yeah. So I think we're okay. I'm looking at this one. Either this is true or okay, so not Q would be 3 is not less than 5. Yeah. Okay, well we got it proper. So it's a little bit this only thing that's throwing me off is this guy here. They're kind of doing like a double negative thing there. But whatever we did was fine, so we're gonna go with that. I'm scared to check the chat because, you know, I'm a lot into this anime discussion. I'm trying to focus as best I can, reluctantly. But anywho, okay. So now for this one, right? So we saw, given the truth value of a simple statement, and then how to apply those truth values to compound statements. So now what we're going to do is extend that narrative to multiple, right? So we're going to look at all possible truth values in a truth table for a compound statement, right? So we're going to create a truth table for this compound statement. Let me just think of the technique that I'd like to use. So there's two different ways that we go about it. I'm going to show the condensed version, right? So first thing is we need the proper number of rows. Because we have two simple statements, we're going to have 2 to the power of 2 rows. In other words, we're going to have a total of 4 rows. If we had 3 simple statements, we would have 2 to the power of 3 rows, which would be 8 rows. If this ever happens, if we have 4 simple statements, we would have 2 to the power of 4, which would be 16 rows, right? So, but for our case, we need a total of 4 rows. I think it's probably best that I make some graph paper. So let me make some graph paper like this. Let's just do the smallest size. That looks decent. Okay. So just like my philosophy, I like to like have fun, but make sure to do, but doing what I'm supposed to do, right? Idealistically. Okay, so let's do our truth tables. So we have 2 simple statements. So we're gonna have, let's see, let's go like this. And if you're taking notes along with me, you might want to just watch this first. So then we have P and then our Q, right? And we should have a total of 4 rows. Let's see. Let me copy. Oh no. Nope. Let me paste. Come on. Nope. Undo. Paste. That should be enough space. Paste. 1, 2. So that's 1, 2, paste, 3, and 4. Okay. And then let's do a vertical 1, 2, 3, 4. We can go like about here. Looks decent. Let's copy, undo, and paste. Okay. That looks decent. Okay. All right. So the way we construct these rows, again, we want to get all combinations of true and false with these two, right? So because it's 4 rows for the first column, the half is true, half is false, right? So true, true, and then false, false. Since that column went by 2s, the next column goes by 1s. So we go true, false, right? And that's essentially how we're going to construct our truth tables. Like if we had 8 rows, right, that would be 3 simple statements. The first column would be half true, half false. It would be 4 true, 4 false. And then the next one is going to go by 2s, and then that final one would go by 1s, right? But for this one, this is good here. So then next thing we want to do is we want to find the truth value, but we want to line the results up under each symbol. And so the parentheses tell us the order of operations, tell us what we focus on first, right? So let's get a copy. We have this not P and Q. And again, our results are going to go under this symbol. So because we have parentheses, our first result goes under the and symbol. Let me paste. And we want to separate it. So basically the symbols that we're considering is the and the not symbol. So first we're going to do and because of the parentheses, and then we're going to do not. Okay. So we can label it like, we can say this is the first column. We can say this is the second column. So this is going to be our third column here under that symbol. Let me just adjust these. Like a lot of times what I think about, like if it were my institution, like if it were my school, there's this old movie called Accepted, where these, youth applied to college, they didn't get in. So instead of telling their parents that they didn't get into college, they just made their own college. It's a silly movie. Like they called it South Harmon Institute of Technology. I'll let you work out that abbreviation. But I actually resonated with the philosophy. The philosophy was like, okay, what do you want to study? We're just going to get you started on that immediately. Like, don't have people wasting their time and energy doing things that they won't necessarily need. Like, if you're going to be an artist, unless you're like, you need the geometry or something like that. If it comes up and you need it, then introduce it. Otherwise, you know, like be genuine. Like, try to encourage people to do their best and to grow and progress on their journey, instead of like create obstacles. Like, we don't need these obstacles. Life is chock full of obstacles. We have enough obstacles. We need to be encouraged and nurtured, and to bring out our light or whatever. So that's what I would do. I would like, okay, what do you want to study? Let's get you started on that immediately. Like, okay, what track? Like, what things do we need? Don't have them doing things that they don't need. Because honestly, the average bear doesn't need this, right? But that's neither here nor there. I'm a ideologist. I think in terms of ideals. Like, I try to do what's ideal and optimism. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I know that things are the way that they are. You just adjust, make a plan, and I feel like it's important to focus on what you want and not be so inundated by what you don't want. Right? I'm motivated by what I want, and not I don't like motivation, like fear mongering, because when you use fear and stuff like that as motivation, then all you do is create more of that thing, right? Because that's what you're focused on. Okay, so now if we consider and, right, we ask ourselves, when is and true? And is true when they're both true. So we got to go line by line. We ask ourselves, are they both true? Yes. I think the rest of them are going to be false. All right. So I'll do this in purple. Are they both true? Yes. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? No. And no. Right? So and is true when they're both true. So then the fourth and final column is this guy. So now for that final column is just going to be the opposite of column 3. Right? So we just do the opposite of those outcomes. So then it's going to be false, true, true, true. And this is basically the truth table of this. And the conclusion, I'll highlight. Oh, that's interesting. What if I hit a plus here? Oh, it's just gonna change something. That's fine. What is this? Oh, cool. Sorry, I'm just kind of playing around on this thing. Okay, so it's gonna be this. Let's go like this. Okay, let's style, fill like that. Stroke. You can go like that. That looks good. Okay, that's decent. Okay. So I just highlighted the final column here. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got false, true, true, true. Okay. So first they did the P and Q, and they got true, false, false, false. Then they applied the not to get the opposite, and you see the final. So this is actually the way that the text did it. Is the other version, right? So the way we did it is like called a condensed truth table, and then the way the book did it in this little type version, they did part by part. So first they did the P and Q, they created that, and then they just kept creating column after column, right? So you can do either method as long as your final column is proper, you're good to go. So for example, right? So Harvard is a college, right? That's a true statement. Yale is a college. That's also a true statement. Then if we say not P and Q, it is not true that Harvard and Yale are colleges. A compound statement that is always true is called a tautology. Is this a tautology? No, right? So remember our final column, we had that one false. Let me see, right? So this is not a tautology. Let me see. The final column tells us that the statement is false. The final statement is false only when both P and Q are true. All right? Yeah, that's that. I mean, that's okay. And again, tautology just means the final column is all true, right? And so because our final column was not all true, it's not a tautology. Let's see, that would be nice to view that, but I'm gonna keep going. We're a little bit short on time, but I think I'm gonna just kind of keep going. Let me make my graph paper again. Paper, this one, the smallest. That looks decent. Let's move it. And like this note-taking software that I'm using, you guys can actually use this as well. This is note-taking software. I'm working on an iPad. This is called Notability. I've been using it since I was in grad school, since before 2011. I've made one-time purchase. It may cost maybe like $5, and I've had a decent experience the whole time. Now, as of late, they've created a subscription, but you don't have to use a subscription to use this. Okay, so we have two simple statements, P and Q, right? So you know what? Let me see if I can just copy what I had before. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Let me just copy the necessary components. So I need columns 1 and 2. I don't need that stuff. I need this, that. I don't really need that either. Let's copy. We're going to paste right here. Paste. Nope, that's not paste. Paste. Okay. And we're going to get rid of the stuff we're not using. So for instance, we can get rid of this and this. We can get rid of all of this. Get rid of this and this. Okay, nice. All right, so we want a truth table again. I prefer the condensed form just because it doesn't take up as much space. So then we have this not P or Q in parentheses, and I'll move that vertical bar in just a moment, and not Q. Okay, so let's extend these guys to about there. And then like periodically I get like flashbacks of like experiences from my youth. Like I remember Saturday mornings and like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous and Steve Irwin. And I just resonate with like, a lot of that stuff. Okay. So if we're working inside the parentheses, the first thing that we would want to do is that not P. Let me copy. And then after the not P, we're going to do the or. And then, oops, we have this not Q. So that does take a little bit of practice to identify the proper order. Okay. So if we try to identify the most dominant symbol, it's going to be the and, right? This and right here. This should be the last thing that we do. We would do the parentheses first, so we will settle that stuff first. And then if we're deciding between and not, the and is dominant over the not. So that means this guy is going to be our last column. So we'll come back to these over here. If we focus on the parentheses, within the parentheses, we have to do the not first. If we have to decide between a not and an or, we do the not first, okay? So this is going to be our column 3. So then not P is going to be the opposite of column 1. All right, so that's going to become false, false, true, true, okay? So then the next symbol that we do within the parentheses is the or. We're going to say not P or Q. So that means we're comparing column 3 to column 2. So we're saying column 3 or column 2. Right? Again, we're saying column 3 or column 2. So again, or is true when at least one of them is true. So as we compare 3 to 2, as long as one of them is true, then we're going to get a true. So is at least one true? Yes. Is at least one true? No. Is at least one true? Yes. Is at least one true? Yes. All right. So hopefully that was clear. If anything is not clear, feel free to unmute yourself to get my attention and we can talk about it, or feel free to type it in the chat. I'll check the chat in just a moment. This was our column 4. Okay. So now outside of the parentheses, again, if we have to decide between the and the not, long story short, we would do the not first and the and would be last. That's our dominant, right? So that means that this overall compound statement is a conjunction because this is the last symbol that we do. This overall compound statement is a conjunction. So the next one that we do is going to be the not Q. That's going to be our column 5, okay? And basically we do the opposite of column 2. So the opposite of 2 is going to be false, true, okay? And then lastly, we're going to, with the and, we're comparing what? Column 4 with column 5. And again, and is true when they're both true. Otherwise, it's false. So if we're comparing 4 to 5, are they both true? No. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? Yes. Right? So this is our final column. I am going to highlight like I did before. I don't know how that changed. This is our final column. Like, another thing I think about a lot is I want to use AI to like create like I recently started using it for like writing and like poetry and stuff like that because it's like I have these, I know what I want to say, I just don't know how to articulate it. So then, and I consider myself an articulate person, but when it comes to like art and poetry and, you know, creative writing and stuff like that, I feel like I lack. So what I'll do in ChatGPT is I'll load it with a prompt. I'll be like, you know, you are now, you know, Chat Shakespeare or whatever, you are now a poet. You know, give me a haiku relating, I don't know, whatever it is I'm considering at the time, right? And it'll write, and then when I don't like it, I say give me another one, and I'll keep kind of cycling until I resonate with something, and then I use it as a base structure to create my own thing. I almost got into this heated debate with this content creator. It's like she was doing some live, and I was like, you know, you ever consider using like Chat GPT? And she was like, no, I'm an artist, and it has to come from my mind. And if it don't come from my mind, then it's not art, it's not original, it's not unique. But I'm like, that's not true. Like you can take something, but it was all a philosophy. It was a clash of philosophy, especially when it comes to art, because I feel like you can take something that already exists, remix it, and create a new experience from the old. You know, it doesn't have, and like I don't really believe that. I mean, I guess some people I guess you can on some level come up with a new idea, but I really believe more so nothing is new under the sun. There are just undiscovered truths. There are truths that the majority of people are not aware of, And then you can tap into it and like bring it to light. But you could take things that most people are aware of and remix it. That's honestly what like research is in grad school. Those are the two tracks. You can either create something new to add to the field, or you can take something that already exists and put your personal spin on it and create something new from the old. So I know that's where I get it from. But notice we get the same final truth column here, right? So all false, but the last row is true. So then we can be confident in the result that we got. Okay. I feel like there should be questions, but I'm not going to press you. Okay, so here's an example where we have three simple statements, right? Because we have three simple statements, that means we're going to have 2 to the power of 3 rows, right? Which means we're going to have a total of 8 rows. And then when we go to construct the truth table, the first column, half true, half false, right? See, notice half are true, half are false. And notice that's 4 by 4, right? So then for the next column, we go by twos. 2 true, 2 false, 2 true, 2 false. And then for the final column, we go by ones. True, false, false, true, false, true, false. All right? So the number of rows is going to be 2 to the power of number of simple statements. And then as you fill in your truth table, first you can do half and half, and then you just start cutting them in half from that point. If it was 4 and 4, then the next one goes by twos, and then the final one goes by ones. Okay. So that was constructing a truth table with 3 simple statements. So here we're asked to construct a truth table for the following statement. I study hard and ace the final, or I fail the course. Study hard, ace the final, and fail the course, okay? Suppose that I think we need some space. I was trying to avoid this. Let me see, I think I got a blank page. This is what I was really trying to avoid, but that's okay. This is page 18, okay? Here's one, let's copy this right here, and let's paste. Okay, that looks good. And let's actually, I think we can work with this. Construct a truth table for the following statement. I study hard and I ace the final, or I failed the course. So it seems like we have 3 simple statements that play here, right? We're going to let P be what? I study hard. Okay. We're going to let Q be I ace the final. Okay. And we're going to let R be I fail the course. Okay. So then for A, if we convert that sentence into symbolic form, I study hard and I ace the final. So we're going to say P and Q. Remember last time we said because of the comma, that tells us what we need to group. So that means that these two need to be grouped together. And then we say, or I fail the course, which is R, right? So that's A in symbolic form, right? Again, because of this comma here, we know that P and Q have to go together, okay? And then for B in symbolic form, suppose that you study hard. Okay, we're just going to let that be I, but study hard, which is going to be P. You do, let me see, you do not ace the final and you fail the course. You do not ace the final, so that's going to be what? Not Q. And you fail the course. So, and R. Because of the comma, these need to be grouped together. Suppose that you study hard. You do not ace the final and. So I think that's an and, right? So it's basically saying that we study hard and we do not ace the final and we fail the course. But again, the comma tells us how to group, right? So what we're going to do is construct a truth table for these. Actually, wait. Yeah, they want a truth table, right? Oh, we got 30 minutes. Okay, this is fine. So again, I mean, it is taking a while. It's just up to me to make those other recordings, and so I'll do the best that I can. P, let me copy this. Copy. Let me paste. And I'll just keep these near the top here as reference. And then I guess I'll do my graph paper. Like this, shrunken down. Okay, that looks good. We might need a copy of this. We might need another blank page, but we'll create one as needed. Okay, that looks good here. Let's see. So we got 3 simple statements. So we're gonna need 8 rows altogether. So let's go like this. So we're gonna have our P, our Q, and our R. Let's copy, paste. Hopefully that's gonna be enough space. Let's copy, paste. Okay. So that's what, 3 rows right there. I think we're low on space, so let me move these around. Okay. Let's copy, paste. Okay. How many rows we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So copy, paste, undo. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so now we got our 8 rows. Oh, okay. Then we're gonna go like this. Copy, undo, paste, paste. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So we got 3 simple statements. So we got our 8 rows. And again, so as we build the truth table, first column is half and half true, half false. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Okay. So since that was 4 by 4, the next one goes by 2s. So true, true, false, false. True, true, false, false. And then the final column goes by 1s. True, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. This is our first column. This is our second column. This is our third column. Okay. All right. So we're going to work on A. Let's see. So we got P and Q in parentheses or R. Okay. Now, copy. If we group it based on the symbols, first we're going to do our OR first. And then whatever result we get there, we're going to compare. Sorry, we do our AND first, and then that result we compare with OR, right? So this is going to be our 4th column here. Let's go ahead and do that, right? So basically we're doing inside the parentheses first. So AND, the symbol AND is true when they both are true. So if we're going P and Q, so this is going to be true if column 1 and column 2 are both true, then we put a true. Otherwise, we put false. So if we look at 1 and 2, are they both true? We would say what? Yes for 1 and 2. So that's going to be a true. True, and then I think everything else is false. Because again, AND is only true when they're both true. So if we're comparing 1 to 2, they're only both true in rows 1 and 2. Okay. So then now we want to compare this to R with OR. So we're saying 4 or 3. So OR is true when at least 1 is true. So then this is going to be our column 5. Is at least 1 true between 4 and 3? Yeah. True. And then it looks like the trues alternate. So we can just do it, basically match column 3. This should just be alternating true. So then true, false, true, false, true, false. And that should be our final column. Let me shrink this down to size. Again, I feel like there should be questions. Let's go like this. And again, for chapter 3, I did remove the late penalties. So as long as you all submit that stuff, you'll be fine. You should get a limited attempts. But I'm going to do the best I can to try to finish these so that we can get caught up on chapter 3, because we have to work outside of class. This one, it's paper like this. Okay, and then this right here. This is our final column. Style. That's fine. Okay, so we got 3 trues and then alternating false true into the end. That's fine. We should make it. I mean, let me plug it in just so I don't chance it. Okay. Is it upside down? Oh. Okay. Oh, and we just did A. We didn't do B. Okay, let's go ahead and do B. Come on. Copy. Copy. You're not gonna. That's annoying. Okay. No. Cancel. Ooh, pressing the wrong stuff. That was 19. So let me copy this. I don't know why I was behaving like that. Paste. And then I just want to copy this stuff. Can I paste it here? Paste. Okay, that works. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do before. Delete. Uh-oh, that's the wrong one. Delete this. This one. Copy. Paste. Yes, that's exactly what we want. Okay. All right. So we did A. Let me get rid of extra stuff. So like this can go. All of this can go. These can go. This can go. Actually, that can go. This can go. All right. So for B, and let's go paper. All this lines. Okay, let's go in business. So then we have what? P and not Q and R. Okay. So again, the parentheses means that we focus on that part first. And so between the not and the and, we do the not first and then we do the and second. So our first result is going to go right about here. Copy. Basically, I'm doing the and symbol, right? And that's going to be our column 4. So let's just do that first. So not Q is the opposite of Q. So it's basically going by twos, and we go false, false, true, true. False, false, true, true, false, false, and true, and true. Okay? So then the next symbol is the and. So we got to say column 4 and column 3. And is true when they're both true. So we can automatically, if we see a false, just go ahead and put a false next to it. And then we got to go back and ask ourselves, are they both true? So for the next row, are they both true? Yes. Are they both true? No. Are they both true? Yes. Are they both true? No. Okay. So that means column 4 and column 3, are they both true? Whenever they're both true, we put true. Okay. So then the final symbol is the and outside the parentheses. So this was our column 5, and this is our column 6, our final column. We want to compare column 5 with column 1. The result from the parentheses is column 5. We got to compare that with column 1 using a conjunction or using and, right? So when they're both true. So we could, whenever we see falses, go ahead and put a false. We see false, false, false. I think all of these are false. And then again, we're trying to see, are they both true? We got a true there. This looks like yes. True and false, right? It's almost a contradiction. A contradiction would be the case where that final column is all false. Tautology is where that final column is all true. But this one we have, so we're saying that this part B is only true when P is true, Q is false, and R is true, right? Hopefully you're able to keep up with that. Here's our final column. Style like this, come on. It's decent. Come on. There you go. Let's go paper. We're going to get rid of this. Okay. All right. So we got all false except the only time that the second statement was true was when P is true, Q is false, and R is true. Otherwise, it's always false. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got what, 3 falses there. Okay. So I see what's going on. We didn't need that second truth table, so we just ate up a bunch of time. We needed a truth table for the first one, right? I studied hard, and then part B was choosing one of those specific cases, so we didn't need that second truth table. Suppose that you study hard, so that means that P is true. You do not ace the final, so that means Q is false, and you fail the course. So R is true. Under these conditions, is the compound statement true or is it false? I want to say that that's basically the one that we got true, that third row. So we would say the compound statement is true. Let's look at our previous one real quick. True, false, true, right? If we look at true, false, true, which is this row here, notice that the final truth value is true. Even when we redid it, we still got true, false, true. We still got a final truth value of true. So we actually confirmed, we didn't really need to do the truth table for the second one, but it still worked out, right? So here's the truth table for the first one. And then the second one, you can see it here. You got a final truth value of true, right? So for part A, we needed the truth table. And then for part B, they wanted a specific result from the truth table. Okay, well, it is what it is. So more than likely when we finish this section today, we'll go ahead and call it a day, and I'll just have to kind of work on the next ones. Okay, all right. So we got a solid 15 minutes. Again, as soon as we finish this section, we'll call it a day. Or the 15 minutes is up, whichever comes first. We can determine the truth value of a compound statement for a specific case in which the truth values of the simple statements are known without constructing an entire truth table. Substitute the truth values of the simple statement into the symbolic form of the compound statement and use the appropriate definitions to determine the truth value of the compound statement. Whew, I read through that fast, right? But long story short, whenever we know the truth values of our simple statements, we can jump straight to the truth value of the compound statement, provided we know the truth values of the simple statement. We don't always necessarily need to construct the truth table. That's basically what this is saying. So the bar graph shows a distribution of looks for American men and women ranging from homely to strikingly attractive, right? Let's see. So we got homely, plain, average. This feels like something out of South Park. Homely, plain, average, good looking, and strikingly attractive. So they're saying less than 4% of the population is strikingly attractive. That's so mean. That's mean. And most people are average. I mean, I guess that makes sense because average is like the central tendency. Homely, like that's so mean. who determines these numbers, right? Okay, we're gonna let that be. I think it's just silly. I use the information in the bar graph to determine the true value of the following statement. It is not true that 1% of American men are homely and more than half are average, or it is not true that 5% of American women are strikingly attractive. Okay. So instead of constructing a truth table, what we're gonna do, we're gonna convert these sentences into symbolic form, right? And find the compound statement, and then find the truth value of each simple statement based on the graph, and then plug that into our symbolic form, and we get to our answer, right? So let's see. So let's identify our simple statements. If we let P be the simple statement, 1% of American men are homely. 1% of American, I'm gonna abbreviate it like that, men are homely, right? More than half are average. So we're gonna let Q be, so if we say half versus average, so the number of average people, let me see. I think that's men. I think this is okay. So that is more than half of the men are average, okay? 5% of women are striking. It's not true that, okay, so we're gonna let R be 5% of American women, 5% of American women are, I'm just gonna striking, so I don't feel like writing all that. I'm just gonna abbreviate strikingly attractive. Okay. Okay, so now we got the simple statements. So then let's convert these to symbolic form. It is not true that, so we're going to say what? Not P. 1% of American men are homely and more than half are average. So we're just going to let that be our Q. I think we said that right. And since we got a comma, we know these need to be grouped, and we have an or. It is not true, so we're going to put not. 5% of American women are strikingly attractive. Okay, so we're going to let that be our R. 1% of American men are homely. That's true, right? Based on this graph. So we're going to give that a truth value of T. More than half of the men are average. 59%. So we're going to say that that's true. 5% of American women are strikingly attractive. Women, that's like the yellow, that's false, right? So we're going to get that the truth value of false. So now if we apply these truth values to our symbolic form, so we're going to have what? I'm going to kind of work here. Let me shrink this down. I kind of wanted to line up. Just running low on space. I'm just going to shrink this down. Because I want my symbols to line up. So not P, here, we can go ahead and put not true. I really should give myself some more space. Basically, not true and true, or not false, right? So we just basically plugged in our truth values. So that's going to be false and true, or true, right? False and true is false. So then ultimately we're going to have false or true. As long as one of them is true, we're good to go. So use the information in the bar graph to determine the truth value. So the final truth value we got is that this is a true statement, right? So, like if you were in a court of law, not with this topic, obviously, but, and if you were using this kind of narrative or whatever, you wouldn't necessarily showcase it to convince the jury. You would just be aware of the actual truth value, right? And then you can use this as a baseline to construct your argument, and then convince the judge and the jury beyond a shadow of a doubt, whatever it is you're trying to show them. It helps when you're aware of the final truth value, right? Okay, so P is true. More than half. This statement is true. And then so they got true, true, false. We got the same thing, right? So true, true, false. Then symbolically, come on. Last slide. Oh, it looks different than what we have. Let me think. Not. Oh, so that not applied to the P and the Q. Okay, so we were still close enough. We still got the same truth value. It is not true that makes sense. So the P and the Q were supposed to be grouped together. So we had our grouping incorrect. But I mean, it kind of worked out. So you see the parentheses there. So I'll leave the error. Matter of fact, I mean, we're okay, right? As long as one of them is true, then the final thing was true. So we do need to make an adjustment. Let me highlight the error. So basically, I see the time. I'm about to get out. I'm about to get you all out of here. This is supposed to be here. Style, and I'm gonna do it in red, so we know that. True ain't true. So then here, I'll go ahead and make the adjustments here. This would have become, I'll do it in purple. That would have been not true or true, which would have been false or true, which is still true, right? So we still got the proper conclusion. We did set it up. We had our parenthesis in the wrong place, but we got the proper thing there, okay? Okay, so let me go ahead and make a copy of this available. This is the fall, this school notes. You should be able to access this. I noticed that I had my headers wrong, so I did update my headers, so they should say you all school, send to box. So when this bar finishes loading, again, this box link should be like one of the first links I put in like the announcement section, and you can find it there. Can I paste? That would be nice. Okay, I'll just do this real quick. Are there any burning questions? Any burning questions for me? Let me paste.
I have a question.
Yes.
On when I'm doing some of my assignments, some of the questions, when I answer some of the questions, the answer is right, but it's saying it's wrong. If you
Did
get
you
what I'm
make
saying.
did you make a note of it?
I did not.
If you
I
could,
told myself I was gonna ask you because I didn't know if it was a common thing or what. It was section
if
2. I remember the section it was in.
yeah, like go back if you can find those, just make a note of it. You can either email me or ask me the next class. I'll look at it, and if you're right, I'll make sure that you get credit for it.
Okay, because I kept doing it and it kept giving me the same answer. And once I put the answer in, it was saying it was wrong. But the
Yeah,
answer was
yeah, just find it, like screenshot it, bring it to my attention, and I can give you credit if it's wrong. If it's
okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Any other burning questions? So, as a quick recap, so again, I do acknowledge like the technical difficulties on your end and my end, on just overall. So again, my way of remedying it, I'm under the impression I removed the late penalty for basically assignments regarding chapters 1 through 3. That includes like exam 1. The due dates still hold, but again, if there's no late penalty, as long as you get it submitted, you can get max points for those. And then on my end, I do need to kind of go ahead and do these pre-recorded lectures. So I'll do the best I can to try to get as many of those pumped out. The goal is to finish chapter 3 by the end of this week, because next week we need to be moving on to the next chapter. I'm gonna let the due dates stand. And what's the other thing? It's the recordings. There was one other thing. One more. Okay, I can't. Oh, and I'll be updating you all's grades over the next couple of days. So I guess things to be on the lookout for are basically the pre-recorded lectures for the next couple of sections. My goal is to get through chapter 3 and the next chapter so you guys can get ahead, and then also be looking for an update on your grades by the next class. It should be ready by the next class, okay? Yeah, so if there aren't any burning questions, we're going to go ahead and end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Peace.